What is up, my peoples? What is up? Guess what time it is? It is time for another one of these fantastical live streams where we get in and do things. Going out to NAB, I had a chance to hang out with and meet some friends. And our guest today, Frederick, it's funny to me because I have always told you guys that if you see somebody that you look up to and you want to have them on your show, like all you really need to do is ask. You'll never get them if you don't ask, and you'll be surprised at how many people would just simply say yes. Okay, so funny story. I have been watching Frederick's content roundabout since Jesus walked in Nazareth. He old too. And then I just never was like, I'm not going to hit this dude up and ask him. He'll definitely tell me no. And then so I meet him in Vegas. Turns out we both watch each other's content, which is also a trip because you never know who's watching. I say that over and over again. You never know who's watching your stuff. And so a lot of times we sell ourselves short because what you guys think of me, I think of Frederick, right? I have been like looking up to his level of work forever, especially when I got into photography, because I was looking for photographers representation wise, like myself, who would be able to show me something in a voice that I would understand. Absolutely crazy. Finally got a chance to meet up at NAB, and it's like brother from another mother. Like it's just besties from another testy. I'll make it worse than that one. It's just literally one of those things where I was like, I can't believe this. So I was like, bro, definitely when we get back and both of our brains get back to normal, gotta have you in the show. So for you guys, first of all, I'm happy to be having guests on the show again. It's been a minute because I've been so busy. I haven't been, locking in the guest calendar. But today, let me introduce you to photographer, photopreneur. I don't know if there's one of these fancy words for a photographer who's also an entrepreneur, because there are a lot of people who are photographers, and the biggest struggle in this business is actually the business. Like taking good pictures nowadays, I won't say it's easy, but it's easier. Right? Gretchen knows this. She's a photopreneur, right? Couple of books and, these kind of things. So turning your photography dream into a functioning business, I thought I would bring Frederick on to talk a little bit about, the business side and some of these AI tools that we can use to level these processes and make it easier. I tell you guys right now, today, as we sit today, there has never been a better time to be a content creator, whether that's photos, whether that's videos, whether that's books, music, whatever. So many dope tools out there to make this job easier, and people are tripping. So let's get after it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, host of This Week in Photography, let's give it up for Mr. Frederick Van Johnson. And of course, you forgot to add him to guest one. This is what you do. This is what you do when you do something dumb.
I saw it. Hey, Doc Rock. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, super funny. Here, let me lock this out and double check to make sure that nothing is going crazy over here. Let me quit anything that might be causing us trouble. I swear I told this thing to shut up yesterday, but sometimes it does what it does. All right. So anyway, tell us a little bit about This Week in Photography. I know, but I think, maybe other people should know. And Gretchen, let me know. Do you like that photopreneur? Is there a photographerpreneur? Like, I don't know. We got to come up with a word because there's a difference between people taking pictures and people taking pictures and making a business out of it.
Yeah, I think it's solopreneur. I think you go with solopreneur.
That's normal.
Solopreneur with an emphasis on photography. That's what it is right now.
There you go.
Photopreneur pigeonholes you. Then I can't say, well, now I'm doing AI. Now I'm doing VR. Right? It's
you got to make it work with our ADD capabilities because that's another problem. That it's funny. A lot of us people that used to watch cartoons on Saturday mornings, a lot of us fit into the categories, and we just weren't at it. They didn't have a diagnosis for us back in the day. You were just either bad or weird. You were considered a bad kid who wouldn't sit down, or you were just a weird kid because, you'd be in the middle of doing something like playing jacks and then be like, you just take off and grab a skateboard. And they're like, where is he going? Where exactly? It's funny that you said squirrel. On the tweet today promoting the show, I said there will be squirrels because That's
There
me.
will that should be the title of your book, Doc. Your next book should be "There Will Be Squirrels," autobiography by Doc Rock.
Right, Troy? Troy is my homeboy from here. Yes, Troy. I have turned it into my superpower because it is
It
definitely
is.
something that I struggle with on a daily basis. But, again, when we were kids, we didn't have any diagnosis or medicine. Most of our diagnosis consisted of belt. so so
That's
there's that.
right. Yep. That was
So
yeah. That's a whole nother show. Yeah, absolutely. You and I have the same background. I mean, we were like parallel ships that were just over the horizon, out of the line of sight. That we
is
had
the
so many
multiverse.
parallels.
The
Yeah,
multiverse of
exactly.
flying slippers and belt. So, real quick before we dive into some of these AI tools, talk to them Ken folks about This Week in Photo.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give I could go on and on about it, but I'll give just kind of the 30,000 foot level view. This Week in Photo, you can find it at thisweekinphoto.com or on any of the podcast directories. It's a show. It's a podcast about photography and what happened this week in photography. It's a one-on-one interview show currently, although I'm evolving that or devolving it back into more of a round table type experience like we used to do. But in a nutshell, the show has been running consistently for about 12 years now. So it's an old podcast, but it's still new, right? Because I get to do it. And we talk about the overall community of This Week in Photo is the podcast. There's a community of photographers that are associated with it. There's courses, and I do events and that sort of thing. Like you saw me at NAB, those sorts of things. And then last year, as you know, Doc, August of last year, my podcast was acquired by these guys, SmugMug and Flickr. So now This Week in Photo is part of the SmugMug Flickr trifecta of brands. And I can't be more excited about that. So I get to do what I do, but now have horsepower of these giant brands behind me. So that's it. That's in a nutshell. And I'm the host of the show, and I get to do what you do for the most part, bring people on and ask them questions and have them rattle on until I ask the next question.
So what's funny to me is back in the day when I first started, I was all in on Flickr, like Flickr Pro from the minute it came out, right? Back then in Aperture you had a little button, you just put your photos in and you just say upload all of these to Flickr to keep them safe. And then so
That's
when
right,
everybody freaked out when Aperture closed down, I was like, well, luckily all of my Aperture stuff is fine because it's in Flickr. And then Flickr started getting a little teetering, like, it was in the corner with the rope-a-dope and it played it just a little bit too long. And then,
That's right.
I had tried SmugMug at one point, but I was like, oh, this is like for the professional photographers. It's not for like people like me out here goofing around. But I've always been overzealous goofing arounder. And so I had SmugMug for a minute, and I completely missed the part where SmugMug and Flickr became like a collective thing. But I do remember when Yahoo was struggling and we started getting emails about like, I don't know how much longer we're going to have Flickr Pro. And they did like specials where you pay for a couple years in advance. So I didn't even realize they were connected. And proud to you for
SmugMug.
show.
Yeah, SmugMug back in the day. I hope this is not my bandwidth because I turned off Backblaze and Dropbox, so I shouldn't be uploading anything. But SmugMug is since I've known the company, I've known the folks and the CEO and the founders for years and years back from when I was at Adobe. I was a product marketing manager at Adobe for Lightroom and Photoshop. And I had interactions with lots of industry companies. SmugMug was one of them. So I met them way back then, was impressed by the company. It's a family-owned company, very strong, subscription-based. So it's almost a recession-proof kind of business, right? It's just rock solid. And I remember them back from those days. So when I decided to entertain the idea of selling the podcast, they were at the top of the list because they're local to me and I already knew them and I knew that our brand synergies would work together. But yeah, back in the day, so I forget what the year was when SmugMug acquired Flickr, but SmugMug bought Flickr, basically saved it, right? They rescued it from going away because Yahoo proper got purchased by Verizon, and who knows where that is now, right? But the gold that was Flickr and the giant user base and all the communities and groups and trillions of photos, I don't know if it's trillions, but a gazillion photos in there, they saved it and they migrated everything off of Flickr servers over to, more robust servers. They did all the things on the back end, but largely left Flickr alone to date, right? So Flickr itself is still operating. And it's interesting about Flickr when you look at it, like you and I are older, right? So we've seen the ebbs and flows in the industry with software companies popping up and then going away. And Flickr has been kind of that constant line throughout. It hasn't gone away. It had some bumps in the road, like with the acquisition and all that. But the platform of Flickr has never been interrupted for photographers. And they made that pledge, actually, that your photos are going to be safe here, I don't know if you could legally say forever, but for the foreseeable future, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's been there, but then you get like, I don't know exactly, but I think part of what happened was, Instagram, 500px, and those sorts of services popped up and started slowly but surely changing the paradigm of what it meant to share images online. So you went away from Flickr, which was share your image and get a bunch of comments and make a group about a certain genre or topic, and everybody sort of interacts within that group, so communities within communities. That went away and was replaced by the stream, right? The timeline and likes and comments on a single photo versus a community around that. So Flickr's MO kind of became outdated to be replaced by these newer things. I think now we may be seeing a backlash back into, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a community around photography and that sort of thing?
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting to watch. So you step back and you see like, oh, yeah, we went from there to there. Everybody got distracted by that shiny object over there. Now that shiny object, Instagram, has decided that they're going to be more TikTok-like, and now people are looking for safe harbor. What about my ex-girlfriend over there, Flickr, right?
and of that nature, like one of the things that's funny to me is with IG, we were sharing our photos and we were getting that instant gratification feedback, like the bump and grind at the club. But there was no relationship around your photos. Yeah. When in Flickr, when we had groups and conversation around techniques and styles, people that were into landscape, you'd have several landscape groups, landscape specific to Japan or landscape specific to surf. You had boudoir photography. You had people that were into, models or babies or puppies or whatever. And you never could really build that type of community on IG. IG was just like, hey, look at me type stuff. And so I do believe that people are missing that connectivity that comes with it. What's dope about SmugMug is it gives you a place to allow people to purchase from you. And when I thought I was about to get serious, I was really into it. So I definitely need to take a look back at SmugMug and see what's out. But what I'm tripping out on is for safekeeping, I just got this Milio thing. Bruh.
Yeah.
With that and connecting it to Flickr, I feel safer than ever about my photos. And what made me recheck, I thought I was doing everything good. What made me recheck, I have a buddy of mine. She recently had her second kid, and her auntie was going to nursing home. So she gave the auntie her iPad so that, she could have something to do, right? Over here, we like Vegas, so everyone wants to play slot machines on the iPad. She didn't fully disconnect iCloud from this iPad. And then so the nurses, when they reset the iPad, it ate all the photos. Deleted everything. Because I think they did a delete everything versus a disconnect and restore as a new iPad. And it deleted all of her photos on all of the devices. And it deleted all of her notes on all of the devices. And I was like, wow.
That'll ruin your day.
No backup because, iCloud was the backup, which it is until it's not, right? So when Jeff said that, I'm like, oh, you're being facetious. I swear a week later, my friend called me basically crying. Troy says, How did you prepare yourself to be positioned at places like Adobe? Was it college plus industry certification or bypass higher ed getting into the field and working your way up? That is a fantastic question,
It
Troy. It makes
is.
me wonder if it's really you because I've known you for many years and you're never mind. Hi, Troy.
It, it is. That is a really good question. And like any answer to any question, it's a meandering path, right? So my path was military. So I started, as you know, Doc, we talked about this. I started in combat camera in the United States Air Force, the best branch of the United States military. So I started in the Air Force as a combat photojournalist in the combat camera group. And when I left the military, I did two tours, two 4-year tours. When I honorably separated, it was time to move to Silicon Valley, right? So in my head, so you know how it is when you're about to separate. You're like, okay, what's my next move? What am I gonna do? I can write my own ticket. Where should I go? And at that time, the arrows were all pointing to Silicon Valley because Yahoo was just starting up. Yahoo had under 100 employees, and Google wasn't even thought of yet. When Google did get thought of, it was powering search for Yahoo. So it was that, and I was like, I want to be in tech. I got to be in tech. So I came up to Silicon Valley, started at the San Jose Mercury News as a web designer. Remember that career field? So I was a web designer for the San Jose Mercury News, helping them build their online presence, which they called Mercury Center. But then while I was there, I was like, this is great, but it sucks at the same time because I'm watching all these other companies evolve and grow and explode, and all these millionaires are being minted, and we're over here writing about it and telling stories. I want to be in the party. I don't want to be outside talking about the party, right? So as it were, I got recruited by Yahoo back in the day. They pulled me over to run a couple of teams over there. Yahoo Computers was one of them, which was designed, or its mission statement was to eat CNET's lunch, right? So if you remember CNET. CNET
Man,
was the
I
powerhouse of.
lived in CNET.
So did I, and I was like, okay, you're gonna give me as a product manager and an engineer. I think I had two engineers and a business development guy, and we were supposed to kill CNET because we had all the traffic, right? So Yahoo was of the mind back then where you could throw anything up and just point the search traffic at it, and it'll instantly be successful, which was true in a lot of ways. But to answer Troy's question, yeah, so it was while I was active duty in the military, I was stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base for the second part of my tour. So I was able to go to UCSB while I was active duty and have the Air Force pay for my schooling. So I went down there for my higher education and then got out. So I had the photography experience and background of the Air Force, and then the schooling from that the Air Force paid for at UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. So I got out and then went to Silicon Valley and kind of built up. And, it's not like something you can plan. It was, oh, I'm going to start at Yahoo, and then from Yahoo, I moved to Adobe, and then got laid off from Adobe as part of a giant mass layoff, and then went over to Apple after that. And then I started doing my own thing. So, it was a series of events, and no one could ever say, yeah, I had planned this out. Yeah, when I was 13 years old, I planned out that I was going to do this, this, and this. And then August of 2022, I'm going to sell my company and then do this, this, and this. It's a meandering path with signposts at each decision point that you make the best decision that you can, given the assets you have at the time and the situation that you're in. So that's and I continue to do that, right? So you just keep kind of pushing forward with a North Star, right? My North Star has always been, I love photography. I love content creation. I love talking to people about this stuff and nerding out about it. You could get me started on AI, and I could talk until tomorrow this time about it, right? So I'm genuinely excited about this stuff. The trick was finding a way to make that genuine excitement pay the bills at the same time. So
There you go.
So after that last layoff, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. And This Week in Photo had already been moving forward. It was started by Scott Bourne and Alex Lindsay, two friends of mine, and I was just coming on the show as a guest. So I'd come on the show as a guest from time to time, the Adobe guy back then. I'd come on the show, talk about whatever was new, and then leave, the corporate dude. Alex and I are really good friends. So Alex and Scott decided that they were going to basically end the show at the time that I was in a layoff period. So I was like, you know what? Let me just take it. Let me see if I can polish this turd and make it, do something with it, right? At least I'll have something to put on my resume that says, while, in this in-between time, I did these 3 things on This Week in Photo. I built this, this, and this. And that was a decade plus ago that I made that decision. So, and wow. It's been a sine wave up and down, but it's been mostly ups, because doing the solopreneur thing feeds a part of me that I didn't know needed to be fed, right? Because it's like I can guide my own. It's almost a gamification of your life.
Yes.
I can say, it changes the paradigm for all you people that are thinking about like becoming a solopreneur or whatever. It changes the paradigm of how you think about, not that I'm rich or anything, but how you think about money. Because instead of, man, I need to save up to buy that 7200 2.8 lens that I want, it becomes, I need to do a quick promotion so I need to drive.
Okay, listen,
I need
we're going to pump the brakes on that right now, because I'm glad you're here to say this, because I've been telling these people down here in the chat the exact same thing forever.
Yeah.
When Sony drops a new camera, which they did, and that camera is 2100 bones, which it is, I don't go, let me save up to get 2100 bones. I go, let me go do something to get me 2100 bones. And I don't care if that's detailing cars, cutting grass, helping somebody paint, helping somebody move. Like, I think that's the military in us. And I was legit going to posit this question, so it's a dope segue. What is one of the takeaways that you gained from your military time and training that really helps you today in your content creation?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Well, I overlay military and Apple because it was very similar experiences. So, and what came out of both of those for me is relentless attention to detail beyond the scene, right? So almost DNA level.
Detail. How many times did you hear that in basic training or whatever? Attention to
detail. A million times. Attention to detail. Yeah. Hospital bed corners, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All that. And so that's I think the first thing that pops in my head is attention to detail. Of course, teamwork and working with other people. I'm a Midwest kid. Like, I'm from Chicago originally, born in Michigan, raised in Chicago. I tell people I was born in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, raised in Chicago, but I grew up in Tokyo. So that's that's my flow. But But with being a Midwest kid, we didn't have a whole lot of money, so I didn't travel much. I wasn't going on backpacking trips around Europe and finding myself and doing all that stuff. What the military gave me was that exposure to all different kinds of people, and it helped me develop that muscle to have a conversation with all different kinds of people and meet on common ground. So that was kind of the main thing, And then, of course, the military gave me access to unlimited camera bodies and lenses and film at the time, too. So
man,
that didn't hurt.
That is so. You know what's funny, man? You talk about parallels. So my grandfather actually ended up living with us because my grandmother threw him out. And when she got remarried, my step granddad was from Flint, Michigan, and he came from a line of berry farmers. So when we would go to visit them, they had strawberries and blueberries in like this big old farm. And I just remember being a kid running around there like, yo, this is so cool. I want to be a farmer. Then one day I got old enough to help. I was like, nope, don't want to be a farmer. We just running around eating fruit off the tree or whatever. That was so cool. When you got to get a shovel and then some ropes and like dragging stuff and digging stuff and like, driving this tractor, like, nah, fam. Nah, never again.
No.
So that
was
great.
I remember, high school. I remember, my experience like that as I had to get a summer job because I wanted a car, right? My dad was like, I'll help you with the down payment, but you got the payments on this car. So I had to get a summer job to pay my payments. And I remember the car was a Mitsubishi Prius.
Oh,
it was
God.
A Mitsubishi Prius. I wanted that car so bad. You know how teenagers are. You just like obsess over it. So yeah, I got a job with a landscaping firm that was paying really well. I was like, I could cover this payment, no problem with this landscaping work. Man, much respect for anybody that does landscaping as a living. Because I
Right?
was, after that first day, I was like, how in the hell do people do this every day? I was exhausted, tired, beat up, just ruined at the end of the day. And then we had to be up, showtime the next day was 6 a.m., right? So I was
Yeah.
like, no, not doing this. So I went to work at Baskin Robbins and got the money that way.
Oh yeah, and then you get ice cream. And so to as we mentioned in the pre-show, to eat my own dog food, for me, the military thing, the one thing that I collected out of it was mad flexibility. And
Yeah.
this comes into play right now as all these AI technologies are bringing themselves into fruition, right? A lot of people look at them with trepidation, as you should. But you know what we were trained in? I don't care how scared you is. We got a mission to do. Let's go, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
actually, fear is good for you in a mission
Mm-hmm.
like this because it allows you to pay, again, more attention to said detail, right? If you
Yeah.
go in
Yeah.
like all hard charging brass knuckles, like you got this, you liable to go home in plastic. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
I think the flexibility of something happened, we have to adjust, adapt, overcome. Like, period.
Overcome.
That's
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
everything is everything, right? Forward progress, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in way, I think that has given me somewhat of I like to call it a fearless nature, but it's fearless with a bit of always watching your six, always checking
Mm-hmm.
your bearings, always course correcting on the fly. And
Yeah.
so in the space of AI, especially with people being so afraid of like losing something, which I just don't do. I'm a very abundance minded person. I don't really think about what's lost. It's
Mm-hmm.
really funny. We had a conversation yesterday with Jefferson Graham, and somebody in the thing said, "Well, what about people stealing your photos?" I'm like, "Cool, that's flattery." Like I'm not I really don't care if someone steals any of my photos because you can't stop it. You really
Yeah.
can't. So you have to
Especially
find a
now.
way to live with it, right? Well, man,
Yeah.
Elias, sorry, I say Eli, it's Elia. Elias'
Yeah.
story at NAB of his picture of the window to Fuji. I was cracking up as he's explaining this because in Japan, I have seen that photo on everything. In the
Yeah.
drawer over here, I have a rail pass from a British company that sells rail passes that stole his photo as the
That's
cover
right.
to their rail pass jacket. His photo has been stolen like thousands of times. But when I asked him to, he goes, "What am I going to do? Chase all these people or keep shooting?" And he already got paid for the original shot by the travel agency that paid him to pay. Well, it was actually a national agency, but whatever. That
Sure.
paid him to take the photo. So at that moment in time, the work was done. All of the residuals from some people have paid and some people have stolen. But you know what? When you see that photo now, and my homie took that picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
iconic. It's iconic. Yeah, you can't. I have friends on both sides of the aisle when it comes to that mindset, right? Because on the one side, and that's the side I fall on. If people steal something or repurpose, if it's not egregious and it's not hurting me in some way, I'm not, whatever. It's karma on you if you feel like you need to do that. But on the other side of it, I have friends that are just they make a revenue stream from being litigious and suing people and using TinEye religiously to find where their images are being used. And they got lawyers on speed dial to go after them, cease and desist, pay me this or I'm taking you to court, And that just feels like, I don't know. It's a cloud, right? A cloud of
right.
negativity. It takes away from the joy of
You want to be
photography
known
when you
for
have to go
good
through that.
photos, or you want to be known for good lawyers?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's how I feel
Yeah.
about Warner Music, right? Come on, Warner Chapel Music. Like most people don't even know who you are unless they've gotten a copyright strike or something from you. Other
Exactly.
than that, nobody really knows who you are. So you could have spent a lot of time being famous for helping artists, helping somebody like my homie JFK in the chat. Like, I signed a deal with Warner Chapel Music. I'm so excited. And all these artists are out there social media explaining how they got signed by Warner Chappell Music and how they're helping the industry or whatever. But instead, all you hear is, I can't believe they gave me a content strike for something that's not right. And I looked
Right.
at the whole Ed Sheeran case and I was like, bruh, you guys are hardcore tripping because like that was crazy. If he had lost that case, I probably would have lost my mind because that
I
family,
listened to that. I listened to both of those tracks, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like,
I don't
where?
get it neither. Yo, I'm a DJ and I'm real
Where's
good
Marvin
at
Gaye
picking
in
out
there?
samples. And I'm like, yo, man, I don't feel that one at all. Anyway, I think part of that is the hip hop nature, like, sample it and then make it work a little bit better, right? Yeah,
Right, right.
striking channels just because of hi hats. That's what I mean. Thank you, JFK. And as we say
Yeah.
in Jamaica, where you going? Okay, last one before we dive into some AI conversation. Gretchen had
Bring it.
posited a question a little bit ago. Gretchen is a wildlife photographer in landscapes, and she says back in the day, lions and wolves and bears on Smug. That's really funny, Gretchen. I think you made me say that out loud like I was Miss Nancy. Lions and wolves and bears. Oh my! Wait, Miss Nancy was Romper Room. Never mind. Anyway, said you couldn't put that on SmugMug. Has that changed?
You couldn't put what? You couldn't put one on SmugMug.
Lions and wolves and bears. I guess. I don't know. She's
You
gangster
can.
grandma. Who knows what she's talking about?
Okay, so I think I get the gist of the question. So you can put whatever you want on SmugMug, and it's interesting that she brings that up because even on Flickr, so Flickr issued, you can Google this and find it. Flickr issued a press release about how they are for pro accounts, for Flickr pro accounts, not the free accounts, but for pro accounts, you can put whatever you want up there as long as it's not illegal, right? So so they're like on some services, like whatever. You remember the controversy with Apple looking at your photos and
Yes.
then remember they may flag this if they think it's whatever, and people got all up in arms about that because of course it's going to be false positives and then it's just nonsense. And why are you looking at my stuff when I paid you for this service and advice? But on Flickr, you can put whatever you want on Flickr as long as it's a pro account and it is not breaking the law in any way. Same way with SmugMug. I can't say for sure definitively, but I think those two services are among the most liberal when it comes to what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Not copyright. When it comes to censorship.
Censorship. There you go.
Yeah, so very little censorship on the images up there. And the Flickr itself and the whole SmugMug organization have recently been certified for, forget what the name of the award was, but it's an award where you have to demonstrate that the company is going to be around for the next 100 years or so, right? And there's you get this certification by checking a bunch of boxes and proving that you have the infrastructure and the business model to last this length of time. And they ticked all those boxes. And when I saw that, I wasn't part of the company when that happened, but when I saw that, I was like, yeah, of course, Flickr Pro, but throw my crap up there because it's clearly going to outlast me. So so why not just throw it up there? So
Yes.
Yeah. So very little censorship on those services, including lions, wolves, tigers, and or bears. So
oh my. So okay. So let's get into this. What is your favorite AI tool for creators at this moment in time? And I know it changes every 35 seconds. We're talking today, May 6th. Happy birthday to my best friend, Topher. Yes, what about today?
Oh man, okay. I'm struggling not to say it depends because it does. But if you ask
in
me,
a couple years, we will be wearing them.
I know. Yeah, no. You mean a couple of years? I'm squeaking right now when I move around on a chair.
Speaking about photographers wearing Depends, what's up, Jeff?
You know what? I had a conversation. You know Pete Souza, right? The White House press photographer, or at least former White House press photographer.
Is amazing.
Yeah, I remember I had a chance to meet him. I went to the White House a couple of times, and one of the conversations, I think it was with him, may have been with another photojournalist, but they were talking about they have to queue up outside when they do White House press briefings. They have to queue up outside for an undetermined amount of time. If you get out of line to go use the bathroom, you lose your place in line, right? So guess what their solution is to that? Depends.
Shut up.
No. They queue
Oh
up.
my
Some of them
God.
have their depends on. If they gotta go, you gotta go. You know, you get in that room, you get out, you change your diaper, you're good to go. So now I forgot what the question was. What was the question?
What was your favorite AI tool at the moment?
Oh, AI tool. Favorite AI tool. I'd have to. My knee-jerk reaction to that is ChatGPT. Probably 4 or 5 on the text generation side of the house. On the image generation side of the house, I'd have to say still Midjourney. So Midjourney version 5. And recently, I've been playing with a new tool called Leonardo. It's at leonardo.ai. It's a generative image model or text to image model, but it has a really slick interface on it. Whereas Midjourney, as if you played with it, you know you have to interact with it through Discord on the command line. With Leonardo, it's you have all your commands exposed and you just pick what you want, render, and go. So yeah, get on that. I think they still have a waiting list thing. It took me, I think 24, 48 hours to get invited in. But that one is the second one. One I just got access to a couple of days ago is Adobe's Firefly. So looking at their page,
I have that.
Oh, I haven't even played with it yet. So I've been invited in, so I have it. I just haven't played with it yet. Just looking at their sales page, I'm like, this is ridiculous what Adobe's able to do.
All right, so
and
let me
hopefully
give
I'm
you
going
a
to interview
personal
them on this.
invitation. I'm gonna give you a personal invitation. Hit the Discord link, and then we will go into one of the rooms in Firefly out loud. Because when I did it, I got my acceptance, and I went live right away. And something that it's harder to teach people like yourself, myself, even back in the day, Jefferson, is sometimes you want to think out loud, right? Gretchen, who's in the chat, she'll tell you some of her best streams are when she just opens up Lightroom and she starts coloring out loud. So because people need to know the process, right? As a content coach, I'm trying to show people how I approach something brand new, because what I don't want to hear is other people in my chat, who's in there, Glenda's in there, she's one. Oh, this is brand new, this is hard, I don't know how to use it. I go, neither did I, like 5 minutes ago. So you have to, I want them to see how my brain processes something brand new, because maybe it will help them learn how to process something brand new. Because I look at these things with zero fear, again, maybe not the most brilliant, but I just go in zero fear. Let me press buttons. If I break it, F it, it's broke. I'll come back. Contrary to my brother who's in the chat, June, that's my little brother, at the store, like Dad and I were the tinkerers and break stuffing, and June was go around and fix whatever we broke. That was basically how it worked. So
that is a good way to think about life, though, Doc. Like, just overall, because I think a lot of us, myself included, get stuck in this whole analysis paralysis loop and never try stuff for fear of failure. Right? I can't do that. Even in high school, I'm not gonna go talk to that girl in the club because she may say no. Right? She may say no. Right? But in the end, like Tony Robbins says, at the end of that, if you go ask anyway, at least you have the data, right? If they do say no, that is no longer an option, but you have that data. If you walk around without trying stuff, you don't have that data. Failure is the most
data-rich business opportunity out there. I say this all the time. Now again, look, we don't even have to take it that far. For the longest time, I was like, man, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Frederick or even Jefferson, who's in the chat right now. And I just never did it because in my head, you guys are way above me. So like, I'm telling my people not to do that. Yeah, I did it. So I did it, eat my own popcorn, as you say. I say dog food, but same smell.
Yeah, popcorn, dog food, cat food.
Same smell. Paul, shut up. Paul saying June fixed a lot of stuff. So yeah, there is really the cool thing about Firefly, it's a trip to me. It's not as fluid or as flexible as some of the stuff you do at Midjourney, but the quality of imagery is dope. And the reason why I think so is because they have access to the 2.8 million images in Adobe stock library to look at. Plus whatever they come from the web, plus a lot of these tools that they're using for procedural analysis and things like that in order to get, I got to sign in. Dang it. Let me sign in real quick. Some of the
Yeah,
procedural stuff that they have to do, it basically
yeah.
allows them to think the image through better. And so you get some amazing quality images out of it. But my brain thinks
Yeah.
in Midjourney because that's where I started.
And all this stuff is so new, right? So that's
Yeah.
the one of the big takeaways is all this stuff is brand new, and there's a lot of like. And one of the talks I gave at NAB was about Midjourney, and last year's NAB and the year before that, we always get these "this is the next big thing" conversations. Like 2 years ago, it was the metaverse. That's going to be the next big thing. Mark Zuckerberg is dumping ungodly amounts of cash into this effort, yada yada yada, which I'm sure he's sorry about. And then the next year after that, it was crypto and NFT, right? And NFTs are going to change the world. We're all going to be selling our images as NFTs and all that stuff, which, it hasn't died, but we've all changed for the most part our perceptions about that whole space. And then you
Right.
fast forward to 2023 and people hear another acronym, AI. Oh, it's going to change the world. It's the next big thing. It's not in the same league as those other things at all. Like we talked about on my show when I interviewed you, Doc, it's a sea change with this AI stuff of how, and it's affecting where crypto and NFTs were affecting some industries kind of tangentially. This stuff is affecting every industry, right? For the most part, and shuttering jobs and creating new jobs on this side and causing legislation to be written, and countries need to work together. Right? It's a big deal, and we're at the ground floor of it right now. So like just diving into it and not being afraid of these tools and understanding what's happening to the extent that we can, because unfortunately even the people that wrote some of these tools don't understand how they work exactly. But understanding what's going on with these tools is the best thing you could do, and like not be afraid. Dive in, play with them, make mistakes, make cool stuff, and be on the ship that's moving versus on the shore, complaining about that ship that's sailing away.
100%. Okay, wait. Why did that just do what I did? Hey, that just did something weird. I've never seen that happen. I
Broke
went
it.
to I went to go press something. Scenes locked everything, and it 86 one of the scenes. I have never seen that happen. Let me do an undo. That is weird. Undo, change the screen name. Nope, that's not it. All right, that was weird. I've never seen that happen. Let me try this. Okay, that works. Anyway, we're gonna have to do this.
I'll send you my Ecamm. I'll send you my Ecamm Live masterclass, Doc. You might need.
No, it's weird. It's like one of the scenes just is not triggering itself, which is cool. I know how to fix these things on the fly. It's like I tell folks, don't panic, just redo it. I can do it so fast, it's not even funny. While I'm bringing
this is
up,
good. Build it.
I want to show you this scene. I just went into not Midjourney. See, I just messed it up. I went into here and I said, look, fam, I need a photo of a street photographer taking photos in Osaka, Japan. It did a horrible job, as expected, but, it was worth the shot.
Yes.
Okay, right. So let me
Hey, I see your comment in chat about my humble brag about the White House. That was not a humble brag.
Okay. Whatever you say, Frederick. Whatever you say.
I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you the story one day.
That's super funny. And then Jefferson, he said that he went to the ribbon cut, and I'm like, okay, both of y'all in here. See how
I can't help it.
Rebuild that bad boy on the flash. All right. So,
beautiful.
And again, so here's what's really cool about this. For someone who thinks in the terminology that they recognize because they've been around in the art space for a minute. For instance, I want to clear the style of Baroque, okay? I'm not about that style. Let's say I want to go do something a little bit more sync wave, and then for color and tone, we're going to go mad vibrant, and then for lighting, I want to do dramatic lighting, and then for compositional style, let's do wide angle. And now regenerate. See, typing this out as a prompt in Mid-Journey, harder, number one. And
Yes,
number two,
100%.
I can't type, so I always mistype something. Luckily, Mid-Journey does really well with the mistyping. But being able to just go in and press these type of things on the fly is extremely helpful. Now, I could do something simple like going here and change add photo to this style instead of just having it as no particular style, and it will regenerate. So this is the things I'm liking about Firefly is it's tactile. To me, it's a
Yeah.
bit tactile. That looks a lot more like Vegas than Japan, homie, but we're gonna let that slide.
Yeah, this it's interesting. So I'm trying to get someone from the Adobe Firefly team on the podcast, and so I'm chatting back and forth with their PR people, and they asked for a list of questions about what I would ask. So I sent them over a list of like 10 questions. Some of them generated by ChatGPT, by the way, but I
Nice.
sent them a list of questions. But one of the questions was from me, not AI generated, was Adobe, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit, Doc, but the part of the controversy around these image generation models is that they were trained on databases that they didn't have the authority to train their models on. Like Flickr is one of them, Getty Images is one of them. So what next? So what, the law needs to be re-examined around fair use and derivative works and all that. My question to Adobe was, you guys, obviously, giant corporation, you don't want to be litigated against, so you're doing the right thing and training it on your Adobe stock library, which is arguably much smaller than a Getty or a Flickr or Getty and Flickr combined. Does that impact the quality of the final image that's going out? And if so, how? Right? So that was a question. And then the other question I put in that list was, are you concerned that this type of image generation is going to take away from people using the traditional tools like Photoshop and Illustrator and all that? So I don't know.
In a way, that's
shall
a
see.
fantastic thought. I don't think so, and here's why. Because the traditional tools are where we're going to go to polish anything that we need to polish, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's still there. And imagine to me, okay, think of this. I got an image and I just want to replace the background. And a lot of the softwares that do sky replacement, like Neo. Sorry, I'm looking at this picture and then saying Neo. Luminar, for those who haven't watched the path of Skyloom's upgrades. In the past, you just dealt with the skies that they gave you, right? And they're good, but they don't fit. Geographically, I know that probably as we get along the way, I can go to Mid-Journey or Firefly and say, look, I need a sky that's representative of Hawaii in the summertime. And it would be able to pull that out because it has data.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put that sky in, but I still got to go to Photoshop to go ahead and bless that back up, right? So I think, and Eli kind of showed us some of that when he was showing his photo of one of the temples in Kyoto, and I thought that photo was just amazing. The funniest part, I amicusly raised my hand in class, and I know my people are laughing because I amicusly raised my hand in class, and I was like, did you put those leaves? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was like, okay, because I would have put those leaves there, right? I would have took the leaves that weren't properly placed. I needed some foreground and placed them. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the Renee Ritchie R2 is here. Good to see you. Revenge of the Sith Day. R2D2 shows up. That's really cool.
Yeah, you know what I'd love to see in Firefly? And hey, Renee, you know what I'd love to see in Firefly is the ability. And I'm guessing, knowing Adobe, that they're all over this already, so this is redundant. But to be able to generate an image and have it output as a Adobe Illustrator document in vectors, so that you can go in and edit it. But
That's
then
what
also
Rich just said. Oh my God, Rich
give
just
me
said
layers.
That in chat.
I want layers. I want layers too. Yeah.
Oh, come on. All right, Rich.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give you credit for thinking out loud because
It's
you're on
true.
the same
It's
track.
true.
So Rich is a OG graphic designer, generally of the same age as us. He spent a lot of time in the New York graphic design when, the late 80s and 90s when New York graphic design was everything. That Rich was in the field
Yeah.
back then. One of my buddies in the chat here. And Neil said, what did Neil say? Neil had something cool to say. What did Neil say? Neil said, oh, Midjourney 5.1 is very impressive. And then let me introduce you to Keely. This is Keely, a.k.a. Discord Coach, a.k.a. Command K, a.k.a. Canadian Whistle Lady. She got a bunch of AKAs. She says, the DMCA had already fallen behind the reality of content creation, and AI has only sped it up. I could not agree with you
100%.
more on that, Keels, because that has always been somewhat of the problem, right? The litigation side of copyright has been jacked since we got electronic music, right? When
Yeah.
we started
Right.
with samples, after Wild Style, when DJ Kool Herc, and Mantronic started with the samples, it already got crazy back then. Roland 808 kick drum was basically harassed by Lin drums because they thought the kick was the same. And Roland's like, nah, we gated this one. And they're like, what? What's gated? None of your business. But it's not the same, So
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of just crazy and also totally not related, but semi-related. I was very irritated like last year when, some of the people in New York, especially hip hop community, were being kind of a-holes during the whole Asian hate thing. I was like, bro, hip hop could not exist without Panasonic and Roland. Right?
Oh,
Between
yeah,
your
for
Technique
sure.
turntables and your 808 kick drums and the samplers and the Akai samplers. So I'm like, if it's not for Japan, we don't dominate culture. So y'all need to chill out right this very instantaneous.
I wonder, like when you get into I'm no lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but when you
Achilles
look
is
at
actually at one point.
when you look at the law around this stuff, if you think about, like, you remember Shepard Fairey when he did that whole poster, and it was the whole discussion was around derivative works and how much of an image can you use before it's your image now, and copyright and all this. So I look at that logic and I apply it to this AI stuff, but at scale. We're talking billions of images versus one artist changing one thing. So how do you litigate against that? Like, is that even possible to have that conversation? Or you just go back to the drawing board and say, you know what? All that stuff is okay. Because you're not going to stuff it back into you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, for one. And if you did in the United States, I heard a rumor that there are other countries that have technology too. So it's not going away.
That is the best one. Like, understanding that there are other countries that have technology. I think we get a little bit cocky. Look, I'm just taking Renee's ridiculous prompt and I gave it to Firefly. It does, because it is trained on Adobe. It has no idea who I am, but there is a katana and a Mac on the beach. And that would be
What
like Rabbit
that?
Island. Rabbit Island is not that far from us. I don't know what this tool is right here. This is some different shit. But
I don't know.
And the handle going into the scarab is a little messed up. But this is kind of funny because
it's not bad with the hands.
Yeah,
you remember Midjourney?
Oh,
Midjourney used to have some hand issues, to say the least. Do we have 5 fingers?
There's a couple of knuckles in there, but see, even Renee can play with AI. All right, so what's another tool that you've been using? I know you said ChatGPT. Are you using any plugins for ChatGPT?
No, I'm using ChatGPT just straight out of the box, and I haven't even upgraded. So I think I'm on ChatGPT 3, and you have to pay for a premium subscription to get 4 and beyond. But no, I'm not playing with plugins. I'm doing, and I'll tell you, even with the raw version of ChatGPT, it has, like, I can't even calculate how much time it saved me. Like, when at NAB I had to do 12 talks, something like that.
Bruh, that was psycho.
Yeah, it was psycho and epic, but would not have been possible if I hadn't started with an outline that was generated through AI. My brain would have been fried trying to put all that stuff together. So, that kind of stuff, course building, all that, just from the basic 3 version. I haven't jumped to the version that's connected to the internet or any of that stuff. It's just
So
crazy.
this is really cool. This is a plugin called Superpower plugin for ChatGPT, and there's a couple of things that it does, which is just really, really healthy. It allows you to build folders and stuff, so you can organize your content a little bit better. It has this auto sync thing, which is the number one reason why I install it, because I have like 6 different Macs, right? And I'm always jumping around. So whenever
Mm-hmm.
you land on one, like my info is solid as gold in any one of them. And then I like the fact that it has a cool ability to export the chats, because sometimes copying and pasting doesn't really work the way you want it to do, right? And you can get like timestamps and some other stuff. But the probably the dumbest feature, but I actually love it, is every time you start it up, this newsletter pops up. And the newsletter has all of the things that people are pulling off, because that's how you stay on top of this mess, right?
Oh,
You see
nice. Yeah.
what folks are doing. So they generate basically a daily newsletter, and there's all kind of links and stuff in here about what's going on around the web, right? Like now ChatGPT can find you a house. That's an interesting one, since we have a real estate company, right? Like looking in here. So like I really like the fact that every time I start up, I get to see, this little thing pop up. I check out all of the various news archives. And then if you in a hurry and you just close it down, but you need to come back to it, you just hit newsletter archive, and then you can pick any one of these days. So Neil was just talking about Midjourney 5.1. I can go in and see some tweets from folks, check out Superhuman. Now they got AI. That'll be interesting. I've been wanting to get Superhuman for the longest time because mail is a mess. But yeah, I really love this thing, and it's just called Chat GPT Superpower. It's really, really handy.
Noted.
The other one that's really cool is community prompts. So as you're building a prompt, and if you're not getting something quite right, you can come in here and do a search, and you can sort by new, most voted, new. You even store your own prompts in here, and you can also pick whether it's blogging, business, coding, copywriting, creative design, education, email, games, general ideas. There's a whole list, right? Even for videos, another cool thing. So I can say I need a prompt around video, and then I could even come in here and get me a prompt. Nihongo no koto ga dekimasu kedo, ato de wa no mono ChatGPT wa Japanese no kante no sukurimasu kedo. So, you can get in here.
So is it doing translation? You can have it do.
Oh, it does.
Like what?
Really decent translation. It ain't perfect, but it's
cool.
good. It's better than Google Translate. I give you that. All right.
Wow. Okay.
So
okay.
here you go. Write a compelling summary description for a YouTube video, things like that. Okay, so that's one. Another one that I want to show you is, let's go over here to this particular site, and then let's click on this bad boy. Hey, be quiet. Be quiet, Frederick. Hey, stop talking. All right, so let me take it. Go back up here. This one is called transcript and summary, and bruh, there is your
shut the front door.
Transcript and summary of your video for that long cast. Now, you ready for some magic? I press on the old ChatGPT logi, and it's gonna boom. There it is. It's in there. So now I can say, steal all the Fredericks and make me a new blog post based on what Frederick said. I'm just joking.
Oh,
but
that's
you can ask
fantastic. Wow.
What are the most BLUABLE points of this video? You know the video, so I have no idea. You're going to tell me right now. Chat is
Let's see if it's right.
Mobile photography has come a long way since the launch of the first iPhone and the 2-megapixel sensor in 2007. Mobile phones are now capable of producing professional quality images. Many photographers are beginning to see the potential of using them as a replacement for traditional cameras. Did you say that? Did you say that?
Yeah.
In that video?
Yeah.
All right.
I think Eric said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Lightroom is still one of the best editing tools available for photographers of all level and consistently evolving to meet the changing needs of the industry. Kelby One offers a wide range of photography classes and resources for photographers looking to improve their skills and learn about new techniques. You must have had a commercial in there.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, because part of that interview was talking about their Kelby One mobile phone photography conference that Jefferson Graham spoke at, by the way. Yeah, I had no idea, because that's the blog post right there. That's the YouTube description.
Okay, so
wow.
So watch this. Taking the above Please write. I'm polite to it. I don't want to be an asshole to
Me
it.
too. Me too. Yeah.
Write me a blog outline with here, let me do that. Remember, MEMBERI, 2 INCLUDE H1 and H2 levels. There you go.
That is ridiculous. Wow.
I
Wow.
Frederick some shit.
All right. You did. Well, you always do. Every time we meet, you spend some of my money. So,
Yo, those are both free. Oh my God. Those are both free. That's the crazy part about it. The company that runs this, the secondary one, where'd it go? This one is run by a company called Glasp, GLASP, and I think what they create is amazing. It's actually a plugin that you can install on your computer, and this is the YouTube summary one, but I want to see their regular work. A couple of Japanese kids, I believe, but they basically have a thing that allows you to highlight things on the web and then synchronize those highlights across devices. And then so as you get in here and start using stuff, you might say, I want to go to here, and I'll just pick a standard article. People have had community insights on a particular article, but if you happen to be looking at an article or checking something out, you can run highlights on these bad boys, and it has like a toolbar that pops up that allows you to get in. Unfortunately, with me being logged in, you can't see what I want to show you. There you go. So yeah.
so that one's
really
Glasp. Cool. Yeah, because Alvin's asking in the chat, is that's the YouTube video summary plugin, Glasp?
Yeah, same. So Glasp is the company. That YouTube video summary is one of theirs. I think Glass is the original tool. It's just a social web highlighter for news articles. So back in the day of Renee and I being in the tech field, right? Somebody would come out with a new device, say Stream Deck Plus, and they got their press release out. I can make highlights in that press release and make them publicly available to the writer's room. So like say all the tech bloggers all are reading the same press release, we could have our collective commentary on a particular piece and then decide he could be saying like, oh, I think this is dope because of this. And I'm like, yeah, if they had to just made clip-on covers so people wouldn't have to go out and get 3D printed stuff or vinyls, because people are going to want to customize this. Oh, that's a good point. Sure. I think I'm going to add that to my article kind of thing. So you can do some community conversation around it. But it's just good for yourself, even if you don't want to share it. I mean, you can highlight.
This is interesting because one of the negotiation points that we're in that writer's strike right now in Hollywood, right? So
100%.
One of their negotiation points was regulating the use of AI because they see the writing on the wall that AI, even in its current incarnation, might impact their daily work, right? So they want to put a corral around it, which I think. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Like, yeah, you can
right
do that,
smack dead in the center. I am with you.
But how do you?
I almost agree. I almost don't want to say what I think because it's going to come off a little bit less than having feelings. But I don't really have those anyway. So my thoughts of it are, I've seen what you guys are creating without the help of AI, and the quality of content just has gone down in general from what we grew up with to what's available now. So if AI can help you rescue some of the last trash that has come out, please let it, right? I don't want you to lose a job. And I understand that the biggest reason why you guys are losing jobs is because competition from the people itself has become thicker. Back in the day, it was a heavily gate-kept community. So being heavily gate-kept, there was a handful of amazing writers, and, they sort of ebbed and flowed. There was a circle. It was a club. You had to be indoctrinated into the club. You had to start out, at somewhere crappy and eventually make your way up to Saturday Night Live. And from Saturday Night Live, you got to have your own writing section on the talk show. And then eventually you became the person who ran said talk show. right? Seth
Mm-hmm.
Meyers looking directly at you, Stephen Colbert looking directly at you, all of the
Mm-hmm.
above. Even Trevor Noah, like looking at him, he kind of leapfrogged a little bit. But the reason
Yeah.
why he was able to leapfrog from where Larry was, this was Larry back in the day, is because they were just mad talented and skilled. I hate the talent word. They were skilled. They put the work in, they put the effort in, they moved their way up. That became a little bit muggled as more and more sources to be in it came from, because cable network is now 1,500 channels.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you
Right.
generated a heck of a lot more writers than before. When you have that many people in the game, Frederick goes to Lauren Michaels and say, all right, Lauren, I'm going to write a Saturday Night Live and I'm expecting to get paid like, 300 grand a year. And Lauren Michaels is like, yeah, this is fantastic. A-level writer, amazing. I come in as a B- writer and I say, man, I've been watching Saturday Night Live since I was a kid. I would love to work for you. My expected salary range is 96 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is getting the job? And
yeah,
so
and on top of that, Doc Rock can say, I can generate 12 scripts for you right now.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the problem they're having is no different than the problem we had in the wedding photography game. When it got to the point where anyone can purchase a camera, it didn't require a 1DX to do weddings anymore. The competition in weddings got better. So if you were good at proving why you charge this amount and why you do things the way you do, and I am well worth the value of what I'm asking you for, you kept your jobs, you kept working, you didn't even lose any clients. Right. If you didn't have the ability to have that business conversation, you got taken out by somebody's nephew. Tom's nephew just came in and, hey, now Tom's nephew is shooting photos. And a lot of photographers didn't want to hear that because I'm an artist. Well, I mean, I remember the photographers making fun of the wedding photographers because you're wedding photographers. You're not even that good. And then I was Scott Kilby's session. We're in Maui together. Dunleavy, what's her face? Oh my God, her husband and wife team. They were combat photos too. I think their last name was Dunleavy or Donnelly. And then let's see, Rick Salmon was there. Katz was there back when he was the only Sony Alpha guy, Clark Little, like all of the top guys. We're all in the room. We're talking. Wedding photographer lady talking about how much she's making. She says she charges 10 grand a wedding. And I was like, wow. Everybody else in the room was like, wow. And then she's like, booked. But in the next section, she asked about the difference between evaluative metering and center metering. Like she didn't even know how to put metering on her Canon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole room was like,
it's a whole nother. That's
All she had, live in Maui, and the cojones to say, I'm charging 10 grand for a wedding.
Yeah.
And there's other photographers in there who wouldn't even think of that. And when that started happening, it was like you guys were making fun of the wedding video photographers, but this lady is legit booked and printing and doesn't even know how to use her gear because she's not gatekeeping. She's not letting anybody gatekeep her. She bought the equipment and decided this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm charging.
Yeah, so I wonder with this whole, like with the writer's room thing and them sort of being afraid, or I don't know if afraid is the right word, but concerned with the momentum that AI is getting, and which is rightly is justified. But I wonder if the writer's room and that whole MO and methodology of content creation, if this is the first kind of shot across the bow of AI is changing stuff, you better pay attention to it, right? Because all of the shows that we watch regularly are impacted by this. And what the studio execs are trying to do is kind of what happened in at the Chicago Sun-Times many years ago. It was like 6-7 years ago. Chicago Sun-Times said, you know what? These iPhones are great. We're getting rid of all of our photographers and giving our reporters iPhones and go out and capture the news that way. And nix the photojournalism department because of this new technology that made it easier and they could save money. I wonder if we're seeing that again with AI here, where it's just a sea change. And because of technology, like you said, I don't have to pay Joe Bob $300K a year. I can pay this less experienced person $100K a year and get maybe not as good of work, but at least currently in 2023, a volume of work that's more than 300K could buy, but I can get it consistently. I can say, hey, generate me 3 scripts that make fun of insert politician name. Boom, right? And they get the scripts fully written and they, tweak them and go to town. So I don't know that industry, that the argument that they're putting up of like we need a gatekeeper or a dam in front of AI is gonna hold water to continue that.
Well,
analogy.
and another big part of it, let's make sure that we keep this 100, keep it $150. Actually, when you're paying the writers not enough to the point where they have to go and get assistance in order to live, and the CEOs and the networks have higher profit margins than ever before, and CEOs are giving themselves a raise, that's a little bit of an a-hole move in itself. And so that's why,
100%.
As we're sitting on the fence, like, one of the nuts is on the side of pay these people what they should get paid, and the other one of the nuts is stop complaining about technology, because it's like atomic energy, man. Like I said yesterday, it's already out there. You can't put it back. Once it's known, it's known. Right. So you can use it to help yourself out. So my brother had a good point. He said, if you can use something with AI to create without your client knowing you use it and charge the same amount, it's kind of, some folks would play less. And said they're mad primarily because it's not a secret and it's not a tool that they can use and everybody has access to it. And I kind of agree with that. Like if this was hidden, if only the industry knew about this stuff, nobody would be having anything to say about it. But because everybody can do it, like they're getting a little bit scared out in these streets. So yes, Alvin, just want to make sure we cover that. That was Glass actually makes the YouTube summarizer, and then the superpower GPT thing, this different one. I just love that plugin. I just think it's really, really handy. I also, Alvin wants to know, is your hoodie available on the merch site?
Oh, this one? Good question. I don't know. This was available in the gear room at SmugMug in Mountain View. So I just snatched it.
Stolen merch.
It's stolen. No, it's reappropriated merch. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know if this is available or not. You would think it would be, but yeah, I'll take a look and let Doc know for sure.
Dude, that's super funny. No, June, you're so right about this, and this is what I'm talking to creators about all the time. Charge for the actual job, not hourly, because first of all, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it works out better. Don't do hourly. That's just silly. Silly.
Yeah.
At this point in time,
lesson learned. Yeah.
And this
lesson learned early on, Doc. You know this, right? Back in the day when you're invoicing jobs, your knee-jerk reaction when you first started invoicing jobs is to let me break down every little thing that I'm charging them for so I can justify this price at the end, and maybe throw a little discount on there or something. Wrong way to go. You say, this thing you asked me to do is going to cost this much money. Everything in between is a black box. If you want me to get this done, this is how much it costs. Right?
So I did do this once in an invoice, and it kind of pissed the people off, but they still paid it anyway. They came to me and they asked for this web thing that I was doing, and I gave them a quote, and they were like, okay. Then later on, they were like, oh, it's kind of high. Can you make it cheaper? I was like, no, it is what it is, because I know exactly the difficulty that you don't know, but there's a difficulty in your request that's going to require some high-level process to get this done. And they're like, oh, all right, whatever. So they disappear, and then I'm looking at the site. It looks like some changes have been made. It's not working. It's buggy as all hell. It kept taking for weeks to load. And then they came back, and I was like, oh, okay, so when you got your quote, like one person said like 3,500, I said something like 15 grand. Another person told them it was like 28 grand. I was like, where'd you get the 3,500 from? Oh, that was the boss's nephew. I'm like, bet. Okay, so when they came back and said, hey, can you fix it? I gave them the number, and they're like, oh, how come it's like 18 grand? And what is this line item, the nephew tax? I'm like, yeah, I'm charging you the nephew tax. It's called fix somebody else's fucking problem tax.
That's right.
And
The nepotism tax.
If I did it myself, I would not have to try to unfuck this. And unfucking it is going to be hard. I should have said that on YouTube. It's going to be harder than had I done it from scratch. And I might have to bare bones it. I can't fix it. I might have to rip it all the way down. So I have to charge you for that. And they were a little irritated, but they needed it done. And again, the other person told them the same thing. The other person that told them 28 went up to something like 35. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, how come that person's 35? Because that's a whole team, and they got a building in the office, whatever. I'm working out of Starbucks, so I can give you a deal, but come on, don't be an a-hole about it. And yeah, super funny. Renee says,
did you get the job?
Yes, I did. I did it. 100%.
Okay, there you go.
Print journalists dismissing bloggers, bloggers dismissing YouTube creators dismissing TikTokers. Can we say that again for the people in the back?
Always. Always.
I'm sure I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I've never done it, but I try to be more cognizant of this now that we are really bad at being gatekeepers, which is really weird because if you're marginalized in any way, shape, or form, female, gay, Black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Japanese, Asian, whatever, anything non-cis, you have been gatekept your whole life. And a whole bunch of them turn around and become deeper gatekeepers. Not my brother June. My brother June is not the gay one. My other brother Daryl. It's really weird to say that out loud because actually his name is Daryl, and Daryl is gay. And he is my other brother, Daryl, but there's only one. We often talk about how there's heavy gatekeeping inside the gay community for the various sections of it. And he finds it weird that they do that because the people have already been gatekept themselves. Yeah. And I was just like, little D, hurt people. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. It's just a thing. I know I do it because I'm Team Sony and you're Team Nikon. And Gretchen is Team Canon. I definitely gatekeep when it comes to y'all inferior cameras.
I think it goes back further than that. I think it's just human nature, right? Because like we were talking about, friendly rivalry between the services is one thing, but when it's on, we are Voltron, right?
100%.
We go in and do the thing. But in the creative world, I don't know what it is. It's always a zero-sum game, and creatives hate the word and. They go to or all the time. It's painting or photography. Oh, it's black and white or color. And for one to win, the other one has to lose. Or it's digital. Remember? Oh, it's film versus digital. You can't have both, right? One has to kill the other one. And then it's mirrorless versus DSLR. And then you could break that down into camera brands. My Nikon is better than your Sony, is better than your Fuji, is better than your Panasonic.
This has been this week in Doc Rock. Frederick is out.
Do not get me started.
I put up with Gretchen and her Canon crap all the time. No, I'm just joking. Listen, I want to highlight this. I want to highlight this real quick. Thank you, JFK. I appreciate you, my Jamaican brother. What is a Nikon? Yes, I agree. Anyway, Keely put this nail in the coffin right here. We learn from our oppressors. Yeah. And I think we don't think about that quite often, but
that's very true.
We 100% do. And man, that was really good. I think you're right. Listening to when you just was having that conversation, and when Renee wrote it, I'm listening to the pipeline, the S rolls downhill kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm just like, like even in just the photography space, like studio guys are making fun of the landscape cats, and landscape cats are making fun of the street cats. And of course, the guys that are working the absolute hardest are, the newspaper guys. They got to go out and take a picture of a cat stuck in a tree, Yeah. But you're in your bougie studio, air conditioning, spending all day in Lightroom. You're not on the AP, you're not on the wire, like whatever. And they would argue about who's working harder. And I had
Yeah.
a wonderful dinner many, many years ago. Again, at that Maui Photo Festival, I happened to get lucky enough to be surrounded by all of the top photographers in the world at that time. I had a one-on-one dinner with Eli Reed because I had just, saw his book. He had a book basically about his photojournalism from a black person's perspective. And
Mhm.
it was weird to me as a creator because in the tech space, you, myself, Soldier, later on Marquez, Anthony, there wasn't a lot of us back in the day. We were by ourselves. We were a small breed. Let's not forget Terry. Terry belongs on the list. We were a very small breed. But I think every one of us went out of our way never to highlight that fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I often
Right.
think about it now as the conversations came out way later. Did we do it a disservice by not highlighting that fact? We were protecting ourselves because, like, maybe if we don't talk about it, they won't see it that way and we won't get the extra hate. But we were getting the extra hate anyway.
Right.
Whether we liked it
right.
or not, it was always secretly there, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but we never really brought it to the forefront. And I still don't to this day. Sometimes I feel a little icky about it because I don't want to cry victim, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
at the
that's
same
the thing.
token,
That's the military guy in you right there too.
100%, right? So at the same token, I'm like, though, every time we don't bring it up, are we doing a disservice to my nephew Kazuma, who I am turning into a creator? We're going to start a whole new podcast. He just turned 13, so YouTube won't give us any crap. And I'm going to teach him like how to create more than he consumes as a kid, and maybe he can be an inspiration to other kids to create because their brains are amazing right now without all the drama of, the baggage that we have, right? There's that cherubic, intelligence, which is totally different from experiential intelligence. So did we do a disservice? I think about this on a daily basis. And I don't know the answer, but I'm curious what you think about it.
It's you and I are again in parallel on this. I think of it from a couple of ways, right? So this is a deep conversation. This is we went from how Nikons are superior to all other cameras to this philosophical discussion. So I had to get that in there. So this is saying Air Force runs on Nikon. Just say it. Nikon. Sorry about that. Nikon.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I gotta correct it. Yeah, when in Rome. But to answer your question, I think there's a number of different answers to that. So I think about that too, from the standpoint of is it a responsibility? Is it our responsibility to, as Black content creators, to empower content creators that are on the road behind us coming up? Right, we're just a couple of exits of forward on the road. They're just getting on the road. Should we give them the signposts and make effort to reach in there to pull them forward? I think the answer is yes, right? But on the other side of that is it's such a touchy topic because there's only so much time in the day to get to push your agenda forward. Like we all have different agendas, like family, or by the time I'm X age, I want to have this much money in the bank, or buy this house for my parents, or whatever. You have your own particular agenda that other folks may not need to have, or not have the responsibility of pulling others forward. So how do you split that up? Right. So do we do less towards our agenda so that we could pull this forward? Or is that just part of the whole thing? So in my world, it's part of the whole thing. So I'll bring people on my show. If anybody asks me a question about podcasting or photography or content creation, I will have that conversation happily if I have the time to do it. 100%. Maybe I need to do more. Maybe I need to reach more into the Black and brown communities to bring people, or minority in general communities, to bring people forward. But it's like, there's 24 hours in a day. So how do you split all that up to get your agenda taken care of and help others at the same time? Or is your mission that, right? My mission is to help other people and that's why I'm here. So I don't know. I struggle with these questions too. So, the entrepreneur in me wants to keep pushing that Sisyphus rock uphill no matter
Yes.
what. I'm not looking back. I'm just trying to push this rock up this hill, but should I be helping somebody else pull their rock up too at the same time, which means I can't push my rock as hard. I don't know. It's
It's
it's a
always
hard
been
question.
a challenge, and I think it hit me the hardest during some of the things that were going on in the pandemic and having a time to sit back and watch it. And I saw after the Floyd thing, Marquez did a video where he talked about it, and I think he did the same thing I did, which is like never let it be an identifying piece. But we know in the back of the head, it's always an identifying piece, whether we
Sure.
pretend it's there or not. I mean,
Yep.
let's keep it a buck 50. Freaking, I carry around a white balance target because my cameras, and so is yours, and so is Panasonic, and so is Canon's, were calibrated in Japan. So the white balance
Hmm.
don't do good with the chocolate. You got to go in and make
Right.
some of your own adjustments, right? I've had this conversation with people in our community. I make everybody buy a passport, right? I'm like, you
Yeah.
need to put this in. You need to make a couple adjustments because auto does not work on melanated folk, right?
Right.
And in Hawaii, shooting portraits, every couple here is basically mixed. There's very few like non-mixed couples here. It's the other way around. So you're
Hmm.
always, trying to get that good balance and things like that. So we've always had to make custom adjustments, and I think that most people don't even think about that because they don't have to, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but why is it? And we're talking about color science. I'm like, it don't make a difference to us. We always have to adjust our stuff. We have to do it
That's right.
completely different. It is what it is, man.
Yeah.
This is good. I don't want to take too much time, so let's hammer a couple tools real quick, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
So we did ChatGPT, of course, and Leonardo, Firefly. What else do you have working in your arsenal?
Oh man, so my workflow is intentionally very, very simple, right? So I'll take you through it. And this is the podcast. So booking the guest, so that runs through a short link that is shortened through a service called short.io. So
Great.
it's a URL shortening service. So I drive people to my Calendly. They pick an appointment, just like you do. Then from there, we record the interview using, you guessed it, Ecamm Live. Record the interview, doing live switching while I'm interviewing, much like you're doing right now, and then edit the whole thing in a template that I've created in Final Cut Pro currently, which I add music to the beginning and the end and the lower thirds, and because I use animated lower thirds and all that. So I do all that, export the thing as MP3 and as MOV, compress the MOV using Handbrake, upload to YouTube, do all the things for the description and the keywords and all that, and I'm done. Well, write the blog post and do all the posting and
Are
all
you doing
that.
your
But
descriptions
that's
and
the flow.
keyword with ChatGPT?
I've started doing that.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, it really
Absolutely. But
helps.
I didn't know about this YouTube video summary app, which would do a much better job because it's going to look at,
Because you'll
instead of
have
just
the
looking at the
right info.
title.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
let me
absolutely.
let me show you this real quick. This is a very helpful situation as well. If I go to this, dun, 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 dun. All right. So before I tell it something, right? I say you are a content creating expert specializing in. So you tell it what it is, right? So I just break down some criteria, just saying that you're paying attention to engagement and high performing and whatever. But I tell it at the end, you must always ask questions before you answer so you can better zone in on what the questioner is seeking. It says, okay, I got that.
Mhm.
I'm creating a video targeted at content creators, especially those who create videos for their business, workshops, seminars, trainings, tutorials. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the software and gear I discovered at, NAB, right? And it says, yes, I understand that. And then it broke down, and so that's what it gave. I have another one closer, which I think you will like. All right, cool. So this particular one, I said, write me an enticing video description where Frederick Van and I are going to be talking about AI tools, make amazing social video photography content, right? I says, here's some
Mhm.
information about Frederick. as I will need some of that bio information at the end of the video description to introduce Frederick to the audience. So I'll put in your bio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like CEO, founder, This Week in Photo, 25 years experience, combat vet, blah, blah, blah. It said, because I told it to ask, so you don't get complained, it doesn't give me what I asked for. Bitch, I told it to ask me to make sure I understand. And if you did that with your spouse, you would have less freaking fights. Anyway, I said, before I proceed with writing the description, I'd like to confirm some details to make sure it accurately represents the content and appeals to your target audience. What are some of the specific AI tools discussed in this video? Are there any unique and interesting use cases shared during the conversation? Is there a particular format or structure to the conversation? Interview, casual discussion, presentation, etc. I said generative tools like ChatGPT, some of Frederick's workflow, and interview. And it was like, okay, gangster, here is exactly what you asked for. No complaints.
That's brilliant.
People
that
say,
is brilliant.
Chat, what color is the sky? And then it goes, well, the sky is green. And they go, oh, he was wrong. But you asked a dumbass question. Because what color is the sky is not even a real thing because it's no color. It's a collection of colors based off of refraction of light, based off the gases in your particular area, heat distribution, tangential rays. There's a lot of things into it, right?
So rods and cones in your eyes.
Holler back. If you ask the question like a human, you will get better results. And I was like, okay, this is dope. Please generate some tweets to promote this live stream. Before I create promotional tweets, could you please provide me with the date and time of the live stream, as well as the relevant hashtags you'd like to include? And I just put, the date because I could do my own hashtags. And it generated me these here 5 tweets in order to, what I'm saying? So, there's a lot of bitching going around about ChatGPT. Hey, just because you do not know how to use a paintbrush doesn't mean you should make fun of Picasso's squiggly lines.
Absolutely.
To you,
absolutely.
you see them as squiggly lines. To the rest of the world, they see them as unpriceable. Not unpriceable. I can't think of the word.
Priceless.
Not unpriceable.
Priceless.
There we go. He's so stupid. They see them as priceless artifacts. And it's funny the amount of people that use tools wrong and then diss both the tool and the creator.
That's right.
And I'm like,
that's right.
Yo, it's garbage in, garbage out. That's all I'm gonna say. So you can give it some things and it will help you get there a little bit better, right?
Like for the bio stuff, when I first started playing with ChatGPT, and he's like, okay, I understand that this language model was frozen in 2021. So anything beyond 2021, at least at the time, ChatGPT 3 was, it's not going to know. But I've been on LinkedIn for a while. So I'm like, I wonder if it knows who I am based on LinkedIn. So yes. I put in, write a bio for Frederick Van Johnson based on his LinkedIn profile. Go. And it did. It wrote it. I was hooked after that. I was like, okay, this is
okay. So to
magic.
Your point, if I come back out here and I start a new chat, you'll notice that I have I have a plugin. I might have just switched it off, but I have a plugin here that allows it to pull in some web search as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you can get accurate searches, but you can also tell it to read a link. You can go, here's a link, read this first. And it will read that first. You know what I'm saying? So you can give it relevant information nowadays. And then to Gerald's point, I'm going to have to pick one of your names, Alvin. AG said, wait, first of all, he said, get out of here with those small Sony grips. So I shouldn't even answer his next question.
He's right.
No, small Sony grips allow us men, as alpha men, to show that even with large hands, we could touch a delicately, finely designed body with the level
is that
of
what it is?
That it would appreciate. All right. Gangster.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Got it.
Plus, I use a battery grip. Have either of you tried Google Bard? And how much have you asked your AI? How much wood could it work? Yes, I have asked that question, by the way. But Bard is good. It's still falling behind. They are on I don't know what they're doing, but something tells me they're sandbagging. I don't know why. Google is too smart.
Oh,
to
they
be
are
getting ghosted.
Bruh,
So in my
you
opinion,
remember
they're sandbagging.
Doc, you remember a couple of years ago at one of the Google I/O conferences, they were before AI became the thing, right? They were talking about their work in AI and how they had developed this text to speech language AI that then went and made reservations on the phone, and we heard it dial up and talk to a human and wait and do all the okay and all that. It did all that. This was years ago. So you're right. Google is sitting on something and they're watching and seeing and they're putting out a little bit of something, and yeah, they're gonna come out with something ridiculous because they're not gonna cede the market to Microsoft or OpenAI or any of that. Yeah.
So they got
my question is Apple though. Like, what is Apple working on with their trillions?
Did we talk about this at dinner? I think we talked about this at dinner. Yep. Apple is also sandbagging because this is what Apple do. Apple, because let's just pretend like Apple owns the dress shop. Okay?
Yeah.
So they let all the Bettys come to the dance with all of their gown and everything, looking all fly, got their hair done up, got their the boutonniere, whatever, corsage pinned up here, got the hair there, and Apple waits. All right, everybody came to there. They look cute. The ball starts at 7. Apple runs to the dress stop. 7:30, puts on the Beyonce stunner, rolls up in the door and be like, I'm here, bitches. And just sashay into the room. And everybody just goes, damn, she is fine. That's what Apple's doing. Apple is
But they don't have the best track record so far, though. I mean, like over the past, 5 years, they've been handed their lunch with Alexa and all these other AIs.
I have an excuse
Siri
for
has
Alexa.
Been way in the basement.
I have an excuse for Alexa, and this is one of the times where they ran out first, and they got their ass handed to them. Okay, this is my excuse, and I'm gonna live by this excuse until I die, because I was there at the time. Siri had no intention of you not having a screen for the follow-up. And it was out of the gate like 2 years prior to everybody else. The other guys was like, what happens if there's no screen? I have to be more verbose, I have to be more clear, and I have to actually answer the question. I just can't say, hey, look at this screen. Because of that lineage, Alexa smokes Siri, and so does Google. Where Siri is getting on my nerves is after these bitches came through with the better outfit than you, why would you not go back and get your outfit done? They have not fixed it. Because I'll be in the car. Yo, see, I'm trying to find some parking. I'm in downtown, whatever. Where should I go? Oh, here's some results. I can't look at the screen, fool. If I look at the screen, I'm going to wreck my whip. Like, she would tell you, look at the screen, and like somebody going to get in an accident and then blames, and then Apple going to be done fixed it. But right now, luckily, nobody got in no accident. So
what do you think about this though? Doc, what do you think about so Apple is notorious or infamous or whatever for paying a lot of attention to privacy, right? So they want all of your searches, all of your computational stuff are happening on device. And so they develop processors that can handle that on device. So they're not going up to a server, doing a bunch of math, and then sending the results back to the device like these other guys are, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, et cetera. They're doing everything on device. So is that holding them back from doing
100%?
What
these
folks are doing?
Yes, they're fighting Mike Tyson with both hands tied behind their back because they insist on the privacy game. And I appreciate them for doing that. And it's amazing how many people still can't get, no matter how many times I explain exactly how it works, I'm amazed at how many people cannot get it through their head that your phone is not listening to you. That is not how it works. But the data collection of everything else you do is so good, it doesn't have to listen to you. Okay? It's like the easiest one I could think of. Remember the instructor with David Carradine? Okay, grasshopper, grab this rock out of my hand. Homie couldn't see, but you wasn't grabbing that rock because he could predict based off your breath sounds or rustles in the ground that you about to move. Gone. Or Daredevil. Let's keep it new. Daredevil. Apple doesn't have to listen to you. Actually, nobody, just take Apple out of the conversation. Nobody has to listen to you to know what you're doing. Your movements are being sold and told. The websites you go to, the basic websites. We went to Leonardo today, and because I'm using Chrome and not Safari, I just gave it 91 pieces of personal information just for landing on that site.
100%.
Smarter move would have been do it in Safari because they would have got like 3. But if you don't use Firefox or Safari as your master browser, my new browser is Orion, by the way, a whole different conversation. Orion's legit.
Oh.
It's basically
Orion.
Safari that has Chrome plugins if you want. So you can add that loosey-goosey when you feel like it. You can skateboard with no helmet when you feel like it. But for the most part, you're locked up in the tracksuit, astronaut suit. So
is Apple going to be behind forever though, Doc? Like that's the
no, because
of the walled garden.
I think they will always find ways to work it out. They've done it so far. They're going to be slow. They're going to be last, and they're going to watch and see what happens. They're also not going to dump all this money in until the government regulations do whatever. Because I don't know if you guys remember this or not. Tim been to the White House. Tim has talked to the last 2 presidents. So he's talked to all of the Congress people. He knows where their thinking is, and he knows that in order to get votes, some of them are going to do some slap that tech folks around business. So he's just going to wait until the cut, go ahead and take your swing. After you take your swing, pay them what they need to get paid to shut up, and then put out product versus run and put all the product out and have it get snatched away or taken. So I think Tim is being a little strategic at the moment. And hopefully they don't miss. And this is the thing. As a CEO, that is your job. Your job is to take those risks and make those decisions. And we don't really need Apple to get into the game right now. We're not missing anything by them not being here. But when they come, we won't know what we were missing because they're good at showing us you didn't know you needed this. But here you go. And you're like, damn, girl, you always know what's up. So it's coming.
I just want Siri to work greater
I.
than it does.
God, it drives me batty. All right, so AG says, have you noticed a rise in monetization of tools and plugins that are coming out to assist people with conversational AI?
Yes. Well, I mean, the tools that you were talking about, for one I was talking about last night on our little group meetup was Prompt Base. Have you heard of that one?
Yes,
Prompt Base. Cool. It's a warehouse for prompts, which is just, you got to get your brain around that. It's a warehouse for prompts where you can go there and buy prompts for Midjourney, for all these different, ChatGPT, etc., that are already written. All you have to do is copy and paste them in, and they do the thing that you were looking for. So I think, and it's monetized. I think like they range anywhere from like $2 to $10 or something for the prompt. So those, I think that is one of those burgeoning industries, because why not? Absolutely. Why should I spend the time to figure out how to make a glass horse when somebody already else figured it out, and I can just work with their prompt as a starting point?
I like that, making a glass horse. It is definitely true, and it is one of those situations again where we are out here basically trying to sort of reinvent the wheel half the time, and there's no need to do that. And somebody's already did it for you. And I think one thing that's the difference between people that end up learning how to use tools versus the whole hand craftsman thing, right? So people love to say that XYZ is cheating and this is not cheating. I'm like, man, it's such closed-minded thinking, because I'll tell you what, after many, many years I spent in the wood shop doing things, I do not want to work with just sandpaper. I will bust out my Festool electric sander in a heartbeat, because just doing it with sandpaper is ignorant. That's not even bad thinking. That is just ignorant. You don't want to do that, right? So sometimes people got to get off of these weird conversations about, oh, this is cheating or this is not cheating, or using filters and it drives
plugins, presets, all that. Because at the end of the day, that argument does not hold water at all.
Never.
Because it's technology. It's like somebody saying, hey, we used to build houses out of mud and straw, and that's the correct way. Anything else is cheating. You using power tools, that's cheating. Do it the right way. Use your hands and bite that wood in half, right?
Bro, look at
no, these are tools.
They bite that wood in half. That's super funny, but Oh, dude,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
my
Prompt base is ridiculous, isn't it?
my computer is doing some weird stuff today, and it's cracking me up because I'm actually pretty enthralled by this. Now, it just went, and here's a scene that is absolutely locked, and it just broke everything. All right, so we're just gonna ignore that. And
Just
this is
ignore
so
it.
weird. I can't
Roll
wait to
over
go.
it.
I can't wait to see the custom logs of what we were able to break today. Okay, so that
Yeah.
works. That is the strangest thing ever. I've never had this happen in my many years of using this program. And it's funny because if anybody would know how to fix it, it would be me, and I have no clue. So we're just gonna
Interesting.
put Frederick back over
Interesting.
here. All right, tell the people how they can find you, and then, man, as you can see, we're gonna have to turn this into a reoccurring thing because we got so much to talk about.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, just yeah, before I tell you where they can find me, to close the thought on that, I think as I thought about this whole cheating thing, because I've thought about this for a couple of years, the whole cheating thing by using presets or pre-written prompts or whatever. I think it boils down to, in a lot of ways, the difference between what your goals are at the end of the day. So if you enjoy the experience of building a ship in a bottle, or you enjoy the experience of doing A, B, and C by hand and the craftsmanship and that's where you find your joy from, that's one thing, completely valid. But if you are in it for the end result, and you want to iterate on the end result because that's where you're trying to go, and you want to get to that end result as fast as possible, you don't want to be the guy, like, I use this analogy with someone. I was like, you know, the say you're in, old France, and there's a winemaker that has this little hut, and his vineyard is 3 miles away from the hut. And every day he walks to work and he looks at the ducks in the pond and smells the air and says hello to the lady on the bench, and he gets there to work and he does his thing and he walks home. Wonderful life, and he loves that. But then someone says, hey, here's a Vespa. Now you can get to work in 5 minutes. Done. You know, that it's taking it off track, right? If the journey is the whole part of the situation, why would you short circuit that with efficiency? So, so the people that wanted to walk the walk, you can still walk the walk. But the people that are like, I got to get to work because we're working on this new kind of wine and time is money, baby, the Vespa is the way to go. So there's no one right answer to that. So,
That is
and hey,
so good.
Caleb's in France.
It's so good. And yeah, I'm with June, right? Either you like the end result or you don't, right? Like,
Yeah, that's right.
it's really okay. For instance, I personally cannot stand microwave food, and so many people are like, oh, you can just microwave this, and I'm like, I don't like microwave food. And yes, you're using a big full size, like 1 cubic foot air fryer takes longer, but the food tastes better. I got an extra 20 minutes. I'm not in that much of a hurry
That's right.
because
Right.
at this age, I feel like I only have so many meals left in the day. So nowadays, I don't want to waste it on nasty things just because I'm hungry. I've learned to stop doing that. Just because I'm hungry, I'm not going to go to 7-Eleven and get a frozen a posada, burrito. I used to call them Jorge posadas. I just don't do that anymore. I'm going to take my time and give me some actual good food. And
Get your good food.
My life in Japan did that to me. It made me not want to eat, just like nasty food just for the heck of it. Because you go to a convenience store in Japan and it's just delicious. I don't know why we slipping over here.
Well, you can pay for it later. I mean, because you're like, give me that bad food with a side of blood pressure medication, please.
Bro, you're speaking my life right now. And it's funny because most people again don't realize that, right? Like that McDonald's, you know what my dad used to say, right? And he used to always he told me and my brother doing the same thing. Every shortcut eventually bites you in the ass. Don't take shortcuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used to think he was crazy. Because, like we be just trying something like, going to the warehouse and get a bunch of stuff. And I'm going to stick it all on the cart because I don't want to have to go to the warehouse twice. Get all the way into the door, brah, 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 everything fall. Mom comes out, she's yelling, Pablo, blah, blah, blah. Like she had this stick that she chased my brother and I around the store with. And then Dad was like, now imagine if you just took 2 trips instead of you pissed her off, and now she gonna be pissed off the whole day, and all of us have to deal with it because you was trying to shortcut, bringing a bunch of receivers, and you just dropped a $900 receiver on the floor. Like, oops. And it's true. Like, and I used to think he was crazy. As I got older, I started to realize I don't like to tell him he was right about stuff because then you never hear the end of it. But he was always right about every single shortcut bites you in the ass. And that's why he used to say, that's why cigarettes cost more at 7-Eleven than anywhere else, because you're paying for the shortcut. Now go get me a pack of cigarettes.
That's right.
And I was like, wow, what the hell kind of lesson is that? You know what I mean? He would always wrap these lessons into somehow me or June have to go to the store and get him something. But yeah, it's a true statement. And I live with that in my head all the time about trying to take shortcuts to do things. And yes, Rich, microwave chili dogs from 7-Eleven when you would steal the nacho cheese on top, though, back in the day, those were good.
You know what I miss from back in the day? Street yakitori. That's what I miss.
Oh, dude, I had some in December.
Did you?
When I went. Now it's at all the temples, right? You go to the temple and you can either get yakitori like on the street. They also have like the yakisoba where you get your noodles and everything. And like it's not the best at the temple, but it's so good and it's so hot. And oh man, it's delicious. All right, so tell these folks how they can find you. And you guys write this down because on the next episode of This Week in Photo, I'm on it.
That's right. He is on the next episode. Absolutely. So, and that's where you can find me. Thisweekinphoto.com is the podcast. That's the URL. You can subscribe there, all the things. It's also on YouTube, etc. I don't live stream the show, although Doc is inspiring me to live stream my interviews, but currently record them, edit them, and publish. And I recorded the one with Doc Rock yesterday. We'll publish it on Thursday. Every Thursday, a new episode drops into the podcast feed and onto YouTube. And then my personal site, which will be launching this month, is at frederickvan.com. So head over there and get on the little email list there, and I will let you know when that site launches. That site it's different from This Week in Photo in that This Week in Photo is primarily about photography. Obviously, it's in the name. Frederick Van is about all the stuff basically we've been talking about on this session. So AI, VR, 360, all the things, NFT, all that. So the kind of where the world feels like it's going is what Frederick Van is about. Where the world is for photographers right now is This Week in Photo. So
there you go. And 2 things. Frederick is going to be making an Ecamm masterclass that I know a lot of you guys already use Ecamm, and a lot of you think you know how to use it. That was mean. But it's always good to learn it again from different people because you pick up on different things. Like I have taken probably no shortage of 20 different street photography classes just because you get different perspectives and you learn a lot from that. So make sure you're following Frederick to be on the lookout for when that comes out. And Frederick, I want to introduce you to a couple people. You saw Keely in the chat earlier. She's Discord for creators. She would be a good person to bring onto your podcast for those looking into generating membership sites. Right now, memberships through Discord is amazing. That's what I have finally settled on after being through many different ways of trying to figure out how to do that. So I will connect you two together. You can just look at discordforcreators.com. She'll be a good person to have on your show. And this is my other buddy. This is Steve Worthy. And he's a Manchester City fan, which irritates me. But other than that, he's cool. He has a show for podcasters about podcasters, so you guys should definitely link up. He's an amazing character. Bad taste in football round teams, but I'll let that slide. We send each other funny videos on IG all day, every day. Like we're like forever sending each other like stupid stuff from the IG verse, and every time he sends me a good one, I was like, oh, now I got to go find a good one to send back. So that's my buddy Steve Worthy, incredible guy. And then so there's Keels. I will connect you to. And Frederick, by all means, man, we jump into Discord, and my Discord community is amazing. And it's because Keely built it. when I first made it, it was me, my brother, like 3 of my friends, and that was it for like 2 years. And then I was like, I need a better place because Facebook community was getting crusty. It's getting better again now, but it's still Facebook. And I just, it's like you're cheating next. You don't want to spend too much time talking to them. So I'm like kind of over the Facebook thing. And so we built this really cool community in Discord. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I just gave up and I was like, Kills, knock yourself out. And then she built an amazing community. If you don't build that tight community around your products, people, you're doing yourself a massive disservice because nowadays it's really, really all about wait, Doc is reciting the channel trailer he recorded for me. Yeah, this is true. Look, AG, you're going to get expelled around here. Guys, stop sidetracking me. I'm trying to tell Frederick important stuff. There will be squirrels.
Trying to drop a gem.
There will be squirrels. No, but moving my community to Discord has been the greatest. And so now with the membership set up, like today, I have a class with the gold members in like an hour. We basically on Saturdays, we sit down, we discuss business, and I basically just keep my foot in their ass so that they keep moving forward. Keely was part of one of the original groups that was called Catch 22. All of those guys have graduated and they're on to doing their own things. They generated their own podcast now, which is amazing. It's called the Creators Pod. It's really good to listen to, so you know that you're not the only one having these thoughts. Because sometimes I feel like I be having these thoughts and I have nobody to talk to about it. So it's fun to hear them. One, from a perspective of that collective, that 6, they are my original, cohort of people that came through my Doc Rock brain dump sessions. And now they're all past all of that and they're doing things above and beyond. And it's just really good to hear where they are, but to see that they still have the same struggles that I still have, even as grown folks, which is it's a good insight. So yeah, definitely grab her on the show and she'll be a good conversation for you.
That's good. Yeah,
Boom.
I'll definitely jump in there.
Boom. It's time for a refresh though. It's really light. Let's really light the fire on it. Okay, let's go. I'm in there like swimwear. Let's go, gang. I will do a little after show in the Discord real quick because I got time before the gold class. So anybody that wants to pop into the DC, all of you channel members, you guys can jump in the Discord. We're going to do a little after party and talk story. Frederick, I will send the link if you have time, slide in, and then I'll make sure that Paul or Keely give you the keys to the kingdom when you come through. Because, man, it's funny to me. It's like now we got to catch up. We got to catch up for all the years that neither one of us emailed the other one and say, hey, we should talk.
There's so many layers on this onion that we need to dive through. So, yeah, I'm in. Yeah, right, send me that link. Send me that Discord link. I'll pop in.
Check this out. Talk about short links, docrock.live/Discord.
Oh, good. Easy. Okay.
I got into .live domains a while ago, and because name.com was one of my sponsors, but I just love having it because I changed Rebrandly. It's because Bitly went psycho. They started trying to charge me like $3,000. And so I switched to Rebrandly. And so it allows me to have that as a short link for everything. So imagine, getting a twip.live and just use that as your short links because your first part is already short, right?
Right.
So now it's a really short domain that you can give to everything. So $2.
Yeah.
$2. All right, fam.
Sweet.
I will see you guys on the back end. Let's hop into the Discord, get a little after party pop in. And Frederick, man, just thank you. Thank you for coming through.
Hey, thanks for the invite. Anytime, man. Anytime.
You and your stupid yellow strap, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sorry.
Don't hate on Nikon. Don't hate on Nikon just because it's superior. It's okay.
All right, guys. I'll see y'all in a minute. Let's keep it a buck.
City of mine, how I love the city of mine. It never gets me down. City of mine, how I love the city of